Conspiracy theories are usually full of waffle, founded on the smallest kernel of truth and stretched out to the bounds of imagination. But ever so often, one strikes the jackpot and seems to be true. Today, I want to take a look at one of these golden nuggets and explore whether or not we're moving to a future run by bots. This is Dead Internet Theory. The origins of the theory are difficult to trace, but it's considered to have spawned in 2019 on, of course, 4chan. There are two core arguments being made. The first is that the internet is entirely full of bots, that most influencers and commenters are bots, AI generated and just overall fake. The second claim is that governments and state-backed actors are behind this, as opposed to individuals or companies. Let's tackle that first point.
So all of a sudden AI is everywhere.
AI tools have completely revolutionized the content creation
Tools like this will
game.
be used for powerful misinformation. There are bad
AI
actors
is literally
that will...
destroying society.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
With the rise of AI models which can interpret and generate natural language, speech, videos, and deepfakes, it's necessary to question if what we see online was made by a human. Because Dead Internet Theory is technically possible. We have the capabilities today for it to be true. But the theory claims that from around 2016 to 2017 is when it came into full force. But perhaps this was an idea ahead of its time, so we should really evaluate what we see today, here and now. Numerous studies conclude that over 50% of traffic on X is driven by bots, and despite Musk's claims, this figure seems to have increased since he took over the platform.
Whilst, from personal experience, bots are rampant on X, I suspect that the methodology in collecting this data may be slightly skewed because it might not distinguish, for example, bots scraping the platform X and looking at posts that are being posted, as opposed to like people actually posting and engaging with communities. So I'm not sure how they reach these figures, but certainly I think that bots are a problem, certainly on
I'm very
X.
skeptical of all of these studies that try and quantify the amount of bots on a platform. I think it's very difficult to do, and it only gets more difficult over time as bots become better and better. We also see a rise in AI-generated video content, and the amount of times I go to YouTube to search for an answer to a technical question and simply just end up with a video automatically generated from some Stack Overflow thread is immense. A statistic which went viral said that in 2022, 47.4% of all internet traffic was bots. Now, it's important to note that bots can be very useful, and are typically used for tasks such as web crawling or monitoring. But estimates suggest that this figure could exceed 99% by the end of the decade, much of which would be bad bots. And this estimate comes from the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. Many stats have also come out suggesting that a third of traffic to websites are bots looking for exploits. I used to manage a couple of my own servers, and there was traffic being thrown at them constantly by script kiddies across the world attempting to break in. It was extremely annoying. But I think this line of argument is a little weak, because this traffic doesn't actually do anything to directly affect the experience of the average internet user. These bots don't write tweets or create YouTube videos. And I mean, can generative AI really even be the root cause of this? Sure, Gen AI is crucial in mass generating content, but can't we just go to trusted sources instead? Can't we just subscribe to our favorite human YouTubers, TikTokers, journalists, and bloggers?
I think the internet was terminally ill before ChatGPT was announced and released. I think the biggest watershed moment when you look at this sort of theory of the decaying internet is the release of algorithmic feeds. I think that algorithmic ranking systems that are AI-driven really set the stage for just endless worthless pieces of content and sort of just the whole internet to be optimized in the most absurd ways.
Algorithmic feeds. When you visit youtube.com or scroll on the infinite vertical video feeds, you don't see content just from your favorite humans. You see content that the algorithm thinks will increase engagement and bring more money to the company behind the platform. And as with any rule-based environment, you can game the system. Generative AI can make content which interests users at scale, but many humans already post clickbait and other useless content used to drive interactions. AI simply cranks it up a notch.
I find it immensely annoying where you have completely junk videos of sometimes it's an AI voice, sometimes it's actually a human voice, but these videos are just complete clickbait and very useless junk. And it's often a sentence of useful information padded with 8 minutes of waffle to make an 8-minute YouTube video. And it really annoys me. And I've certainly noticed that since the advent of generative AI, this has gone up a notch and it increasingly populates my feed, specifically in areas such as popular culture, where demand for content is so high and the content available is so low that people often resort to watching this type of content.
And so we think of social media as first contact between humanity and AI, because social media is kind of a baby AI, right? It was the biggest supercomputer deployed probably en masse to touch human beings for 8 hours a day or whatever, pointed at your kid's brain, right? It's a supercomputer AI pointed at your brain. What does the supercomputer, what does the AI do? It's just calculating one thing, which is, can I make a prediction about which of the next tweets I could show you or videos I could show you would be most likely to keep you in that infinite scroll loop? And it's so good at that it's checkmate against your self-control, like prediction of like, I think I have something else to do, that it keeps people in there for quite a long time. And in that first contact with humanity, we say, like, how did this go? Like between, we always say like, oh, what's going to happen when humanity develops AI? It's like, well, we saw a version of what happened, which is that humanity lost because we got a more doom scrolling, shortened attention span, social validation. We birthed a whole new career field called social media influencer, which is now colonized like half of.
Iza Raskin, the inventor of the infinite scroll, thinks that generative AI isn't our real problem here. If you see some random video of a grandma blowing the candles on a cake for their 92nd birthday, and your grandma happens to be 92 too, you're going to mindlessly like the video and move on. And you weren't focused enough to notice the details that clearly indicated this video was AI generated. And this account will post the same grandma video for every age between 70 and 100, and boom, just like that, is gamed the algorithm without a human ever touching a camera to begin with. Coming back to the original question, is dead internet theory's first argument right? I think, as with all conspiracy theories, it takes a step too far. But unlike most conspiracy theories, it's built off a very strong foundation of truth and offers a glimpse into the near future. To understand what they really mean, though, we need to look back to the earlier days of the web. It was a place full of IRC chat forums and email conversations, a place where people across the world could communicate and talk to each other.
In the early 90s, the web is slow and hard to navigate. It's the domain of academics and computer geeks.
We ended up sort of in the middle of the night starting this project. What we were trying to do was put sort of a human face on the internet.
True to its namesake, the browser is a navigator to the web, making surfing as easy as point and click.
All of a sudden, the power of the internet that had been there for years was available to everybody in an easy way, point and click, the universal language.
The essence of the early internet was to engage with other humans online and stay updated. But that internet doesn't exist anymore. It's dead.
More governments are kicking people off the internet than ever before.
It is the threat of censorship. It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships because of disagreements over politics. It's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens.
Book burnings in Nazi Germany. All instances of those in positions of authority attempting to suppress access to knowledge and dissenting opinion. And the practice continues to this day, both in the open and covertly.
The government maintains tight control on what people inside the country can and can't see, making the World Wide Web not so wide.
Now, I think the second strand of dead internet theory is much weaker. I don't think governments are behind all of the bots we see online. Because whilst governments ultimately have control over these companies, it's immensely difficult to secretly take significant actions. And for example, nations such as China, North Korea, and Russia show us what it'd look like if a government controlled the internet. But that's certainly not what we see in the West, so it probably isn't happening over here. The internet democratizes everything, meaning it's challenging for all digital content to be politically fueled by the government.
They hide behind Twitter hashtags, Facebook ads, and fake news stories. They're the work of bots and trolls.
However, this doesn't stop one entity, such as the Kremlin, from flooding the internet with their own bots.
And one of the most skilled countries at deploying them is Russia.
And there's not a whole lot we can do to stop bots. We also aren't even very good at deciding whether an account or piece of media is AI generated or not. So we really are screwed unless something groundbreaking happens soon. Dead internet theory is a conspiracy with an uncanny semblance to real life, and it suggests that we may need to relegate the internet to a secondary tool in society. In a time where we cannot even trust video calls, the World Wide Web will soon stop being the place to meet new people and learn about the world and explore. For now, the best thing we can do is to be very careful of what we see and hear, but it's not long before even that's not enough. The brightest minds will have to come together and think very hard for a very long time if we are to find a solution to this pressing problem. This was Dead Internet Theory, and it's almost real.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe to our channel. Our full episode can be found in the description, where you can also sign up to our newsletter for a summary of what we discussed delivered straight to your inbox.